Today's number is 33 billion, as in $33 billion. That's the total Amazon has now committed to Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, after Monday's additional $5 billion investment. Anthropic is now valued at $350 billion, and its annualized revenue just crossed 30 billion. 4 months ago, that number was roughly $9 billion. Hang on to that number for a moment because the White House is paying attention to it, and we'll come back to why in about 90 seconds. Well, here's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday and happy hump day. For 6 weeks now, this show has been running the storyline about the Pentagon and Anthropic that lived until yesterday afternoon entirely in trade press and court filings. Yesterday, it walked out on the cable television. The President of the United States on CNBC said a Pentagon deal with Anthropic is, quote, possible now. 5 days from today, the biggest AI trial of the year starts jury selection, and the tools on your phone quietly stopped telling you things this week and started doing them. We're not speculating today, we are reading the scoreboard. I'm Don Michalik, and this is your Morning Intelligence for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Here's what we've got today. In the lead, President Trump told CNBC yesterday that the Department of Defense deal with Anthropic is possible, 6 weeks after the Pentagon labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk. It's the first material movement in a story we've been tracking since March. And it changes the category of the tool millions of you use at work every single day. In today's rundown, we are 5 days out from jury selection in the Musk versus OpenAI trial. We'll give you the primer so Monday doesn't catch you flat-footed. OpenAI launched ChatGPT Images 2.0 yesterday, the first image model that actually reasons. And a Stanford study just explained, with actual data, why your AI assistant works better on your couch than at your desk. In the deep cut, Visa and Yelp together, within 24 hours of each other, describe the full agentic commerce stack. One owns the payment rails, the other owns the booking loop. AI stopped recommending and started doing. And we'll close today's episode with the hotel chain that just laid down the cleanest corporate AI rollout template of the year. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, in our lead story, let's start with Washington today. Yesterday afternoon, in an on-camera interview with CNBC, President Donald Trump said a deal with Anthropic, the company that makes the Claude AI assistant, for the Department of Defense to use its model is, quote, possible. His words. He also said Anthropic is, quote, shaping up. And he said his administration had, quote, some very good talks with the company at the White House last week. Here's a little bit of the backdrop. 6 weeks ago in early March, the Pentagon labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk. That happened after contract talks between the Pentagon and Anthropic broke down. The reported sticking point here, well, Anthropic refused to grant access for fully autonomous weapon systems and for domestic mass surveillance. No big deal, right? Anthropic lost its appeal on April 10th. That supply chain risk designation, as of this morning, technically still stands. But last Friday, April 17th, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei walked into the White House. He met with Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. A White House spokesperson called the meeting, quote, productive and constructive. 4 days later, the president is on television saying a deal is possible. Now add the financial backdrop here, which is, I think, why these meetings are happening in the first place. On Monday, Amazon put another $5 billion into Anthropic. That brings Amazon's total commitment to the company to $33 billion, the number from the top of the show. Anthropic is now valued at $350 billion pre-money. Its annualized revenue has crossed $30 billion. And there's reporting from Bloomberg, CNBC, and Reuters that Anthropic is targeting an October IPO that could be the second largest public market debut in history, just behind SpaceX. So, 6 weeks ago, Anthropic was blacklisted. Today, well, the president is taking meetings with the company. Here's why this story matters, and here's why we kicked off with it this morning. A month ago, this was a trade press story about defense procurement. This week, it's the President of the United States on cable television naming terms with an AI CEO. That is the way the US government used to negotiate with oil majors and defense primes. It is not the way it has negotiated with software companies before. And for you specifically, listener, who may be using Claude at work or who works at companies that use Claude, two things are now in play. The first, if Anthropic softens its no autonomous weapons and no domestic mass surveillance language to close the deal, the safety first brand identity of the AI tool you use at work just became a commercial variable. That brand, safety first, is half the reason a lot of companies standardize on Claude in the first place. Second, the AI industry is obviously moving and it's moving in real time from tech company status to strategic industry status. Regulation, procurement, national security posturing, all that changes on that recategorization here. And the pricing, the capabilities, and the availability of the AI tools on your laptop all live downstream of those factors. So, the bottom line of the story, watch what Anthropic says publicly in the next 48 hours. A possible blog post, an interview, a statement from the CEO, Dario Mode. Any softening of the autonomous weapons language will tell you where the safety first brand actually lives and whether Claude is a tool you want your company standardizing on for the next 5 years. The negotiation is happening in public right now. You don't need anyone to read the tea leaves for you. You can just listen for yourself. All right, let's go ahead and get into today's rundown. In our first story in the rundown, it's Musk versus OpenAI, Monday, April 27th. The fraud and breach of contract trial between Elon Musk and OpenAI, plus Sam Altman, plus Greg Brockman, plus Microsoft, begins jury selection Monday in federal court in Oakland before Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers. Musk's team has floated up to $134 billion in damages. Three things to know before we go into next week. One, Musk recently amended what he's asking for. He no longer wants damages directly to himself. He wants any winnings routed to OpenAI's nonprofit arm. He wants Sam Altman removed as CEO, and he wants OpenAI's nonprofit to for-profit conversion unwound. Two, one of the pieces of evidence in the case is a private diary entry from OpenAI co-founder Greg Brockman, written in 2017, that calls OpenAI's nonprofit status, quote, a lie. There were 11 co-founders at OpenAI to start. Only two are still there, Altman and Brockman himself. The rest have either been pushed out, resigned, or sued the company. The Ringer published a full primer on this trial Monday, calling it, quote, our next tech extravaganza. That tells you where this is going, culturally speaking. If you haven't been paying attention, this week is the last clean moment to catch up. So what? Well, the tool that roughly 900 million people use every week is defendant in this trial. If Elon Musk prevails, OpenAI could be forced to restructure. Altman could be forced out, and ChatGPT's pricing and availability could be reshaped dramatically. If you or your team run on ChatGPT at work, build a mental backup plan just in case. Know which AI tool you switch to before you have to. All right, our second story in the rundown, ChatGPT Images 2.0 is the first model to actually think for images. OpenAI launched ChatGPT Images 2.0 yesterday, their biggest image generation upgrade since the original launch. Four things are new here. The first, well, actually, reasons. The model can now search the web for real time context while it builds your image. It can also check its own accuracy. That's the first time an image generator has been able to fact check its own visuals. Number two, it can generate up to 8 coherent images from a single prompt, not 8 guesses, 8 variations that share a design language. 3, resolution goes up to 2K. And 4, this is the one that actually matters for most of us here, at least I think so. Text rendering finally works, including in non Latin scripts, Japanese, Korean, Hindi, and Bengali. The standard version is available to every ChatGPT user. The full thinking mode with reasoning is gated to paid tiers, plus Pro and Business. So what? Well, anyone listening who has ever tried to get an AI image generator to put readable text on a social graphic and watch it produce absolute gibberish, that problem as of yesterday is largely fixed. If you're a marketer, a founder, or consultant, anyone whose week involves turning ideas into visuals, open Images 2.0 today and try the exact thing you've been trying to do in Canva. The text rendering fix alone is probably worth the month of plus. All right, our third rundown story, Stanford. has a study out. Your AI productivity is happening on your couch and not at your desk. All right. This one I want you to hear carefully because I think it describes something a lot of you have been privately already feeling. At least I know I have. A new study out of Stanford Institute of Economic Policy Research, led by fellow Michael Blank, tracked the browsing data of more than 200,000 US households from 2021 through 2024. Here's what they found. On digital chores, think job hunting, travel planning, filing insurance claims, online shopping, people who use ChatGPT are 76 to 176% more efficient than people who don't. Big gains, real gains, actually measurable. But here's the twist here: the time people save is overwhelmingly being spent on leisure, not skill development, not continuing education, not a second source of income, just more free time. And the researchers also documented a widening digital divide. Younger, higher income users are adopting generative AI faster, which narrows some inequities and widens others. This next to a stat from yesterday's show, if you remember. The American Customer Satisfaction Index found that AI platforms as a category scored lower than airlines, social media, and mortgage lenders. A lot of you asked privately why you weren't feeling the hype at work. Well, Stanford just gave you the math here. So what? Well, for weeks, the conversation has been AI will make you more productive at your job. A lot of you probably aren't feeling that. Stanford's data reframes the whole debate. Well, the gains are real, yes. They're just showing up in your personal life. Again, with things like travel bookings, insurance calls, and returns, and not on a spreadsheet at work. Use it for the benefits enrollment form, the flight rebook, the warranty claim, whatever it may be, and stop feeling guilty that your workflow hasn't actually been revolutionized yet. The data says that's where the 10x moments actually live right now. All right, quick pause here. If today's episode is rather useful to you, if the Anthropic Pentagon context helps you walk into a meeting this week feeling more informed, or if the Stanford data gave you permission to finally try ChatGPT on booking your trip, share this episode with at least one person today. I'd really appreciate it. You can text it to them, send to an email, maybe a LinkedIn DM, whatever's the easiest for you. If you share this with at least one person, you help the show grow, and I would genuinely appreciate it if you took the time to do that today. All right, let's go ahead and get in today's deep cut. Two announcements landed within 24 hours of each other this week that, when you put them next to each other, describe what agentic AI actually looks like in real life. Not on a conference slide, but on your phone. Visa went first. The company launched something called Intelligent Commerce Connect. In plain English, Visa is building the payment highway that lets an AI agent browse products on your behalf, pick one, and actually complete the purchase across Visa's global network. It supports multiple AI agent protocols, so it's not locked to one AI lab, and it works with both Visa cards and non Visa cards. Pilot partners include Amazon Web Services, Highnote, and Mesh. I want to read that part one more time because Visa is building the rails so an AI agent can finish a purchase for you, not recommend one, but actually complete it for you. That's huge. Then, within a day, Yelp jumped in and updated its AI assistant. Yelp's AI now handles the full loop: find the restaurant, decide on it, make the reservation, order the delivery, book the plumber or the photographer or the contractor or whoever, all inside a single conversation. No switching between apps, no copy and pasting between two different apps. You simply ask a question and the AI does the job. End to end experience here. Every listener here has probably used Yelp. Now Yelp does the work for you. So, why is this story worth your time? Well, for the last 18 months, agentic AI has been a slide on venture capital decks. Like, let's just be honest about it. This week, it became a phone app and a Visa card and a full end to end transaction across both of them. These are the first two pieces of what I consider to be consumer scale infrastructure that let an AI assistant actually complete a transaction for you. Instead of handing you a list of links and making you do the last 5 clicks yourself. And I think that's the line between interesting and changes how you actually buy things. And both of those rails crossed this week. If you work in marketing and if AI agents are doing the buying, your ad strategy, your SEO, your loyalty program, your email open rate benchmarks, your, I don't know, landing pages, all of it should be re-examined. The customer on the other end of your funnel may not be a human reading your headlines anymore. It may be an AI agent running a checklist for a person holding the phone. And If you're in sales, finance, or I don't know, maybe even procurement here, look at your own vendors. Which ones are ready for an AI customer? Which ones will break the first time a customer's agent tries to do a return end to end? Something to take into consideration this week. So, the takeaway here for this story, well, I see really three practical things. One, next time you need to make a dinner reservation or book a plumber or contractor, try opening Yelp and try the AI assistant end to end. It's probably the cleanest 60-second demo of where this is all heading. Once you've seen it, you really can't unsee it. Two, if you run a team that operates a website, run one test checkout this week as if an agent were doing it. Does your checkout flow actually work? Does your cart work if a script is clicking through it? If something on your site requires a human to squint at an image to pass a CAPTCHA or read a price, it's probably about to break the system. Third up, if you're in marketing or maybe even business development here, start asking your team this one question. What does our funnel look like if half of our customers aren't actually humans anymore? I'm not saying half of them will not be humans tomorrow. I'm saying the question is now worth maybe 5 minutes in a staff meeting this week. The line I remember from today: AI stopped telling you things this weekend and started doing them for you. The payment rails, Visa's taking care of that. The first app you'll probably feel it is in Yelp. All right, some fun stuff here to sign off for today's episode. After a Wednesday full of, Pentagon negotiations, federal trials, image model upgrades, Stanford data, agentic commerce, all that good stuff, let me leave you with the single most quietly instructive corporate announcement of the week. Hyatt, the hotel company, announced a global rollout of ChatGPT Enterprise across finance, marketing and branding, business development and real estate, product and engineering, customer experience, all of it all at once. And what's interesting isn't that Hyatt picked a tool, it's why they picked it. Hyatt cited in completely plain English right there in the announcement that the enterprise tier security posture is the main reason. Specifically, employee prompts on ChatGPT Enterprise are not used to train OpenAI's global models. That's the sentence a lot of procurement teams have been waiting for someone else to say out loud. A little bit of context here before we keep going. Hyatt joins a lineup of enterprise ChatGPT wins that includes Oracle, Uber, State Farm, and per PwC, Grant Thornton, and McKinsey data, only about 20% of companies are currently capturing real value of their AI rollouts. Hyatt, in one press release, described what the other 20% cluster actually does. They roll it out company wide, they name the data training distinction publicly, and they put it in every department, not just in their IT department. So, if you are a person at your company who keeps getting pulled into which AI tool should we standardize on meeting, well, Hyatt's announcement is the cleanest one paragraph case study you can forward to your boss. Email it to them, don't need to explain it. Let the brand do the work for you. All right. For tomorrow's teaser, a couple of things we're keeping an eye on. Google Cloud Next 2026 continues through tomorrow in Las Vegas. Thomas Kurian's opening keynote lands sometime midday today Pacific time, which is after taping of this episode. So if Gemini 3.2 drops or if Google announces a major enterprise agent product, we'll obviously handle that in tomorrow's lead. The MIT Technology Review publishes a new editorial feature today, the 10 things that matter in AI right now. That's going on at MTech AI conference in Cambridge. We'll make sure to get the list and break that down tomorrow as well. And we are now 4 days out from the Musk versus OpenAI jury selection. So any material pretrial motions overnight become tomorrow's rundown automatically. So hope to see you tomorrow for that because we'll have a pretty good episode if all those things drop. And that's Morning Intelligence for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. If you liked what you heard, hit subscribe from wherever you're listening and share it with that one friend who keeps asking you, hey, what's going on in the world of AI? You know who they are. I'm Don Michalik. Thank you so much for listening and have a great rest of your Wednesday.